And we are live on Facebook. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another New Jersey Constitutional Republicans virtual conversation. It's once again my great honor to have a great friend of the New Jersey Constitutional Republicans and a friend to all Republicans in New Jersey, Mr. Jack Ciattarelli, gubernatorial candidate, here with us today. Thank you, Jack.
Hey, JR, always great to be with you and with Constitutional Republicans.
And of course, Jack, now we're coming down to the home stretch, and you've got a couple of big debates coming up, and you're preparing for those debates. And we were talking just before we came on about the great Lincoln Douglas debates. And of course, Jack is a great admirer of Lincoln, as we are. And we think that the Republican Party should be restored in his image, if you will, and that the policies of the Declaration of Independence, the initial principles of the Republican Party will in today's day, in 2021, resonate with the most voters. And this is why, no, I was just going to say that a lot of the principles we're going to go over your plan as it's on your website. And I just want to bring up for a moment, Jack, if we could, let me bring up your website for people. You know, I was amazed, Jack, to find out in a current poll that name recognition may be an issue to some degree. And this is incumbent upon our fellow Republicans in the state, voters, those working for the county organizations and so forth, to make sure that people know about Jack Ciattarelli. And one way they can find out about Jack is going to your website that we have here. And I just want to go over a few things, Jack. And I think one of the outstanding ideas that you have in answering the property tax problem, which normally polls, I believe, #1 amongst the most concerned issue with New Jersey taxpayers. I thought that your idea of freezing property taxes for all homeowners at the age of 65, regardless of income or length of residency, is a very Lincolnian economic idea, and I think it's brilliant.
Well, I appreciate that, JR. Listen, we know this is a state where you have trouble getting started here, and you have trouble ending it here. And property taxes is the reason. So that's particularly acute for seniors. My heart bleeds for those people as you go around the state who will tell you today that their property taxes are higher than their mortgage ever was. I don't think people should have to get a reverse mortgage or sell their house, not the one that they worked their whole lives to keep in good shape. And we want people to live their lives out in their homes, and freezing property tax at age 65, I believe, is the best way to do it.
No question, Jack. I think it's a great idea, and immediately would make a big difference in the lives of many. But again, then there comes the point of, how do we make up for the loss in subsidies? But being a CPA, that there's necessarily needs to be a trimming of fat, especially when it comes to the amount of money spent on education in the state. Correct?
Correct. And don't forget, JR, we do this for young people people that need affordable housing, don't pay the full property taxes on the value of their home. And there's a way that we recoup that down the road, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. There is a mechanism, and I could see that working here for seniors too. But we are not, under Governor Ciattarelli, going to have any senior citizen forced out of their home because they can't afford the property taxes.
Well, that's an idea that needs to get out. People need to talk about this, socialize that excellent proposal for our people who are 65 or over, not having to pay property tax. That may make a big difference, Jack, and a lot of the seniors moving out of the state. So that's
Absolutely.
a very, very important. It's a very, very important party or platform that you have, and I think it's outstanding. And then, of course, reforming the tax code. And, you've learned all about this being in the assembly, the complexity of the tax code. And you want to provide relief in some of these brackets and make all retirement income tax free. There's another outstanding idea for seniors in New Jersey.
Very much like Pennsylvania. That's what they do, JR. And it's not just from my time in the assembly. Also, as someone who's a CPA, I'm familiar with the tax code. And I also know that New Jersey has the most taxed people in the nation. Nobody pays more taxes than New Jerseyans. And we also know that New Jersey is the worst place in the country in which to do business. Our business climate is ranked dead last year after year after year. So listen, I'm all about doing what Lincoln did, providing opportunity and security. You do that with economic freedom. You can't have economic freedom if the government's in your pocket every time you turn around. We need to get the government out of your pocket, lower your taxes, and enable people to achieve their American dream here, whatever that might be.
Outstanding. And let's move on to the law enforcement aspect of your plan. And of course, Phil Murphy, Jack, looks at law enforcement through the lens of the social justice ideology, if you will, that he so ardently defends. And in many aspects, Jack, he looks at law enforcement in many ways as being more criminal than the actual criminal, and looks as the criminal as being the victim. And of course, you're just the opposite of that.
This governor and this attorney general, JR, have been the most anti-cop we've ever had. They've disarmed our cops. They've handcuffed our cops. They've demoralized our cops. Listen, we need reforms that help us get rid of bad cops, as we'd want to get rid of any bad professional in any profession. But at the same time, these men and women in blue need to know that we have their back. I and my attorney general will. We will observe the rule of law here in New Jersey. We'll make it an attractive profession again. And as I said, we'll have the back of the men and women in blue every day of the week.
Of course, Jack, there is some controversy over the bail reform. We've seen many instances where it has been an utter failure. And of course, one of your plans here is to fix bail reform loopholes that currently allow violent and repeat offenders to walk free, which is just the opposite of the purpose of government, which is to secure the person and their property.
Correct. And we need to reform bail reform. I understand the good intentions when this came on the scene a number of years ago, but in a number of ways, it has been a failure. And we're not going to be wasting police resources arresting the same person 2 or 3 times within a 6-month period who's allowed to go free each time. So I'm committed to reforming bail reform. And again, making sure that we observe the rule of law here in New Jersey and that people feel safe and secure.
That's right. And Jack, there's been, and I believe that this really started during the primary, false information out there about your position on law enforcement pensions, retirement programs. Here you set the record straight. There's going to be no changes. And even to this day, I still talk to some who retired in law enforcement concerned about your position. And there's no question that you're going to make sure that their pensions and benefits are not diminished in any way, correct?
Listen, JR, I get it. It's not just a scar. For many, it's still an open wound because previous administrations have lied to them. I don't lie. And the fact of the matter is the job has never been harder. It's never been more stressful. We've never had fewer applicants for the job. And listen, if we're going to save $5,000 in benefits, but compensation is rising because we've demoralized police, what do we achieve from a tax standpoint? If there was a time to keep our police whole in terms of their compensation, their benefits, and their pension, this is it. It needs to be an attractive profession. We used to get 20,000 applicants for state police jobs, JR. We're down to 2,000 a year. And police chiefs across the state will tell you the number of applicants is down significantly. And when the number of applicants is down, quality of applicants is usually down. So listen, we've got to make this an attractive profession. We've got to make the people that want to protect us again. And the way to do that is by having an attractive compensation program.
One of the other things too, Jack, especially when you talk about the state troopers, we've seen how Phil Murphy has politicized each of the offices that works the closest with him. We've seen that even with the state troopers. And I can anticipate that in a Jack Ciattarelli administration, that's not going to occur.
It is not going to occur. And one way that we can lessen the politics is I do believe that the state police should possibly come out from underneath the attorney general. I think the commander for the state police should report right into the governor, not to the attorney general, particularly in a state of emergency like we see with things recently with Tropical Storm Ida. I don't want to have to go through the attorney general to deploy our state police to respond to a state of emergency. So I'm looking to reorganize state government, JR, as you'd expect any MBA, CPA would want to better respond to the needs of our citizens.
That's right. Another excellent point that you make in your plan here is that of empowering parents. I think this is very important, something we talk about. The fact is, Jack, that the parents are initially the first educators of their children. They have the most interest in the child. They have the greater benefit or the greater good for the child in mind, as opposed to the state. And there is a tremendous amount of friction, if you will, between the parent and the state. And of course, Phil Murphy making edicts that need to be implemented in our public school system. I don't see the constitutional validity behind of what he imposes on public education, but you here are stating that the parents need to be the primary educators once again and be able to choose the education their children receive and where they choose it.
JR, quite frankly, I don't think any governor has been more dangerous to children than Phil Murphy, in the sense that he kept them out of school for an entire year. The changes to the public school system, which infringes upon parental rights, and also his advocacy for recreational marijuana. I'm very, very concerned about the welfare of our children. And so under Governor Ciattarelli, we're not going to infringe upon parental rights. I do believe in our schools, there is certain very, very mature subject matter that is best left for the kitchen table between mom and dad and their children. And so we'll get back to teaching basic life skills. We'll also teach that bigotry and bullying is immoral and is not to be tolerated. We'll teach mutual respect. We'll teach tolerance. We'll teach the golden rule: do unto others as you would have others do unto you. But beyond that, I really believe other subject matter is best left for home between the mom and dad and the children.
And you talk about also the economic, stronger economy is another aspect of your plan. Build an open economy to promote growth and opportunity for all. A lot of it has to do with eliminating capital gains tax. And of course, with the infractions upon business imposed upon by Phil Murphy as a result of the healthcare crisis, this is a very, very important plan that needs to be implemented right away for businesses in New Jersey.
No one's going to have economic freedom unless we have a thriving economy. We're not going to have a thriving economy unless we have a better business climate. You can't have a better business climate unless we reform our tax code. And so I am committed to that. And I'll be recognized as the most pro-business governor we've ever had. I'm not ever going to screw the consumer or harm the environment, but we do need to make New Jersey a better place to do business.
There's no question. Of course, we have a tremendous advantage economically, geographically, between Philadelphia and New York, the diversity of the state, Jack, and being able to manufacture the great agricultural businesses that exist down here where I am in South Jersey, with our agricultural business and prowess, and of course our the great tourism that exists in our shore communities and our boardwalks throughout the coast of New Jersey. There's just so much variety of the ways in which to make money and to support economy. And I know that you're very, very, this is your acumen, that you really want to grow business in New Jersey, and that's good news for the citizens.
And we'll do that, JR, by reestablishing the Department of Commerce. I'll rename it Department of Commerce and Economic Development. It'll be a cabinet level position. Reporting into that cabinet member will be 4 deputy commissioners, each responsible for economic development in a different part of the state, because North is different from Central. Both are very different from South, and all 3 are different from the Jersey Shore. Each has its own unique set of attributes, but each has its own unique set of challenges. And we've got to cater to the specific needs of each region of the state in order for our state economy to thrive.
I also think it's very interesting, and it was very necessary to put up a plan for freedom for freelancers, which basically gives contractors and those working for themselves greater freedom and recognizing their independence in trying to make their own living, and not to be punished by the public unions or to be working in an adversarial role, but bringing these people in who are working like musicians and those in the arts and so forth. I think it's outstanding that you're recognizing these important economic entities.
You know, JR, even California last year with a ballot measure, California residents overwhelmingly rejected what's referred to as the gig economy bill, where all freelancers and self-employed contractors have to become employees. People like being self-employed. They like the freedom it provides. They like all the great feeling that comes with knowing they own their own business. And Phil Murphy's looking to take that all away. And so I support freelancers. I support independent contractors. It works for our economy. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that certain regulations are not forced upon these fellow New Jerseyans.
Jack, don't you think it's interesting that today, back prior to the Civil War, we had slave labor, then we had wage labor, and Lincoln talked about what you're doing here, which he talked about free labor, meaning that you start out as an employee, you work hard, you save your money, you get educated, and you become a business owner, which is what you've literally done in your life. And providing jobs for other people, but that's an example of the free labor that the Republican Party needs to get back into supporting the middle class. And it's very interesting, the dichotomy between Phil Murphy's policies, which essentially are very slave labor oriented, very status, wage and price controls, keeping people from economic mobility. And then, of course, wage labor being dictated by the government as opposed to the free market, rather. And then, of course, the ability to be able to make your own business. And that's free labor.
Like it was all about providing opportunity. That's one part of the equation of the great American experiment, JR, to provide opportunity. And you mentioned two words there that you never hear from Phil Murphy: work hard. That's the deal. To be an American means that this country is going to give you opportunity, and you've got to hold up your end of the deal and work hard. If you're given opportunity and you work hard, usually very, very good things come out of that. And so we got to get back to the basics here in America, and particularly here in New Jersey. I think the biggest difference between Phil Murphy and me is I believe in a hand up. He believes in a handout. The second thing, handout is a very, very dangerous philosophy. And we're seeing that across the state right now, where people don't want to get back to work because Phil Murphy's been too generous with this or too generous with that. Look at the labor shortage all throughout the state, and all of our mom and pop shops and small business owners. Every one of them has a help wanted sign in the window. I've made the point to say they're not just looking for labor; they're looking for a new governor.
Exactly. And it's truly remarkable, Jack, that Phil Murphy's policies, and he tries so hard not to be discriminatory, but his policies are discriminatory. And we talk about the purpose of government, and he believes the purpose of government is to help those who he believes have been unfairly or unduly treated at the expense of all of society. And of course, you're implementing Republican principles that apply to everyone indiscriminately, rather than the discriminatory policies of the Democratic Party led by Phil Murphy.
It is discriminatory, JR. And just this morning, I had an interview with regard to the New Jersey bear hunt. If you're not like Phil Murphy, he totally disregards you. He doesn't respect your opinion. He doesn't even look to represent you. I can't remember the last time he's ever been to portions of the state where we have a very, very dangerous situation, because the bear population today, it's overpopulated. Scientists and biologists have said the humane way to take care of this issue is to thin the herd, and yet Phil Murphy won't allow for the herd to be thinned through the hunt. He allows it for deer, he allows it for game birds, but his own division of the state government, which recommended a bear hunt as the humane way to thin the herd, nope, not in Phil Murphy's world. He's totally rejected that.
Jack, your campaign has made it a priority from day one to go into the urban areas. And we know that traditionally the urban areas do vote Democrat. but you're doing the very best in moving into going into areas Republicans traditionally have avoided. You're not avoiding them all. You've been there, and you also have a specific plan to revitalize New Jersey citizens here on the website as well, which of course is based on number one, law and order. You can't have a successful neighborhood, or you can't have a civil society without law and order, and then which in turn will provide the economic opportunities for people to work and to create work.
That's correct, JR. And our major cities have been plagued by disinvestment for decades. And we need a game plan. And I've put together a very specific one. I'm not about gentrification. We're not going to dislocate or relocate anybody. And who lives there now and community leaders now will be part of the plan, part of the partnership that revitalizes our urban areas. We desperately need it. It's the only way our economy is going to thrive. It's the only way each and every citizen in this state is going to achieve economic freedom. And I am wholly committed to revitalizing our major cities.
Now, Jack, I want to talk about Murphy's handling of the healthcare crisis. And I wanted to ask you a question that who's the second most powerful person in New Jersey since we've had this COVID-19 lockdown? And it's not the state Senate, or it's not the Senate president. It's the chairwoman of the New Jersey Department of Health, who's had entirely too much influence on Phil Murphy. And what amazes me, Jack, is that Phil Murphy made a lot of miscalculations. He thought that we weren't going to have hospital beds, enough hospital beds, and then he takes people who are infected with COVID and puts them in our convalescent centers. This is a dramatic and disastrous miscalculation that cost the lives of many. And to me, in my estimation, Jack, the voters in New Jersey have to realize for the first time in their lives, the constitutional rights of freedom of assembly, religious expression, the ability to obtain, possess, and secure property, which means going to work and earning your money, all were suspended because Phil Murphy miscalculated the extent of this COVID-19 pandemic.
So the pandemic wasn't easy, JR, we get it. But at the same time, while we're doing everything we can to save lives, I think we also have to try hard to save livelihoods. New Jersey has 276,000 fewer jobs in it today than it did pre-pandemic. 1 out of 3 small businesses on Main Street have closed their doors forever. We've often heard that the New Jersey governor is one of the most powerful in the nation by state constitution. And I think if the pandemic taught us anything, maybe a bit too powerful. I've gone as far as to say that I'll work with the legislature and our citizens to amend our constitution that no governor has executive order power beyond the 6-month mark. That no governor should be allowed to just continually declare a state of emergency and rule by fiat and render the entire legislature really obsolete. They're an equal branch of government. They have a role to play in our representative democracy in this federal republic in which we exist. And I respect that. So we'll get back to honoring our federal republic and our representative democracy under Governor Ciattarelli.
And Jack, it really, for lack of better words, it throws me for a loop that people would approve of Phil Murphy's handling of this pandemic. And one of the reasons why they will continue to vote for him, I guess they're not aware of the rights and privileges of Article 1 of the New Jersey Constitution that said that all political power is inherent in the people, not in the governor. And that the fact is that the people are naturally free and independent. These are all rights and privileges that are right at the very beginning of our state constitution. I know you have read these, you're aware of them, and your administration is going to revitalize the importance and the preeminence of the New Jersey Constitution, correct?
Correct, JR. And listen, it's not leadership when you try to instill fear in your citizens. What I prefer to do as a matter of leadership is empower individuals with information. Certainly, it's my job to always promote, preserve, and protect the public health and safety. And as governor, I will. But my responsibility is also to empower citizens with information and then let them make the choice.
The people also need to realize, Jack, that in violation of Article 3 of our Constitution, that says that all three branches of government need to be working simultaneously and equally. And in a situation that occurred like this, and Phil Murphy took the unprecedented power of executing more executive orders than any governor in recent time, without any participation from the legislature. Of course, you put a very important lawsuit in front of the Supreme Court that they frankly blew and didn't support the Constitution and borrowing money for debt. But the whole idea is that you're working together and you realize this. I believe that you would look upon the local legislators and the assemblymen and the state senators and get them involved and get more people, more minds thinking. Whereas Phil Murphy essentially worked unilaterally with this whole situation with the pandemic.
And it was hard not to feel as though the legislature, led by the Democratic leadership and the Supreme Court, were in lockstep. As we know, JR, everyone is supposed to be an independent branch of government, equal and independent, to ensure the balance of power. And we haven't seen this here during the Murphy administration. So we'll get back to honoring our federal republic and our representative democracy under Governor Ciattarelli.
And that's encouraging, Jack, because, you know, as the Constitution Republicans, a primary purpose of ours is not only reforming the initial principles of the Republican Party back into today's Republican Party, but to educate the citizens and let them know that it's the Constitution that protects their natural rights. Representatives will come and go, whether they're local representatives, state representatives, federal representatives. The Constitution remains. Since 1947, we've had our state constitution. And what people need to realize is that you, wanting to become governor, you will restore the preeminence of the Constitution, which is the vehicle by which to best protect the people's natural rights. People need to learn these things.
And JR, we know that it was that very document, which endures and always will, that was the primary motivation for Lincoln. Whenever he would lose his way, he'd go back and read the Constitution. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal. And it talked also about a more perfect union. And so you're right, JR, we do need to get back to that. And that's one of the changes I'd like to see in our public school curriculum with regard to civics. Once again, teaching Americans what it means to be American.
Yes, it's so vital that we have an educated electorate. And that's why it's so important for that electorate, especially the electorate here in New Jersey, to vote for you for governor. And we certainly appreciate your time taking out today. Tell us what's on the schedule today for the man who I say gets around. Brian Wilson wrote a great song saying, I get around by the Beach Boys. But you've actually literally fulfilled the meaning of that song in my estimation. What's on the agenda today?
During the course of every day, JR, we meet with business owners across the state, and we'll be doing that today and all throughout Central Jersey. And I want to hear what their challenges are. Of course, we know what they are with regard to being a very heavily regulated state, a heavily taxed state, where right now their chief concern is the inability to find labor. Yes. Phil Murphy has really done serious damage to the labor markets here in New Jersey. And despite the fact that he was the one that depleted the unemployment trust fund because of his overly generous unemployment benefits, every employer in this state is going to see a payroll tax increase on October 1st, retroactive to July 1st. And it just shows how out of touch and tone deaf he is to the challenges of small business. He can replenish the unemployment trust fund with the American Rescue Act funds that he's sitting on from Joe Biden in the billions. Yes. And yet he won't replenish the unemployment trust fund. Even Democrats in the legislature have questioned his judgment on this, but it's just another example of him being out of touch and tone deaf. So I will continue to go around and meet with business owners and tell them that I'll have their back once I'm governor.
As we finish up, Jack, you've got a couple of big debates coming up. And of course, we know that the Yankees are up in Boston this weekend and they're going to need to play well. It's been a real roller coaster, this ride. How do you think they're going to finish up? Do you think they'll make the wild card?
They seem ready. They're in position. The Blue Jays lost last night, so the Yanks are a game up in the wild card. They could do some real damage to Boston this weekend and really take a commanding position in wild card. And listen, I'll be rooting extra hard because the Yankees are playing the Red Sox, and Phil Murphy's is a Red Sox fan.
Yeah, that's another reason not to like him. Well, listen, Jack, I appreciate you coming on, and I hope to have you back on one more time prior to the election. But I encourage the people to get out there and to talk about Jack. Make sure that lack of name recognition is not even a consideration. Make sure people know about this extraordinary and unique gubernatorial candidate that we have here in New Jersey. I'm proud to call you a friend, Jack, and anything that the Constitutional Republicans can do for you, we're on board.
Well, I greatly appreciate the opportunity once again to be with you, JR, and your Constitutional Republicans. No one is more passionate about our federal republic and our representative democracy. And so I greatly appreciate what it is that you do.
And as we finish, Jack, let's remember that Lincoln said liberty to all. And that would provide the impetus for industry and enterprise, which makes one self-reliant and makes a person a success and being a good citizen of the United States and the state of New Jersey.
Correct.
Thank you, Jack. We'll see you again. Thank you very much.
JR.
Have a good day.
You too.
Take care.